you and I are dealing with unlimited cognition, all about CBT.
Right.
And it's all about cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically how your mind puts things together to remember what is learned. So how does that work with athletes when it comes to CBT, with athletes learning? Because repetition is amazing. Everybody thinks like football players. Those the quarterbacks to receivers, it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Some of the passes, the basketball players, everything is an angle. Everything is like almost, it's amazing. And people are like, oh, well, it's repetition, isn't it? Yeah. Everything they do is repetition. Sports-wise, how do you work with them cognitively to understand that?
A great artist, Malcolm, why am I drawing a blank on his last name? He talks about having 10,000 hours. And once you've done your 10,000 hours, you've mastered something. So a lot of these kids, as they're coming up and they're coming along, they're putting in hour after hour after hour of training, playing, competition, and they're building their skill set. And again, to me, as you start to matriculate and you start to get higher in your competition, it's less about your skill set. You've mastered that.
The physical aspect.
Yes, the physical aspect of it. It's about the mental, what's going on in between here. And the minute that you create, and I tell people this all the time, all you need is a grain of salt, of doubt, and it will pollute the rest of your body. It's like so a true. Cancer.
Anything in
it'll
life.
Run through. You're done. But when you look at the great ones, it does not matter. I play with Gilbert Arenas, and he might be the best basketball player I ever played with.
Really?
Yes. He was unafraid. Anything was possible with him on the floor.
He still has that attitude when you listen to him talk.
Still does. He's Gilbert does his thing. The respect that I have for him as a basketball player, though, was second. And I played with some really good basketball players. Caught Scottie Pippen towards the end of his career. Played with Chris Webber, who's Hall of Famer stud. Sean Kemp, who was amazing. But Gilbert Arenas was different.
What made him different?
Mentally, he was able to get to places that made other players uncomfortable. So I remember I played with him a year and then I coached him a year. I remember one night he calls me up and it's 1 a.m. I can't sleep. Let's go over to the gym and shoot. Now I'm the player development coach. I'm available to the guys 24/7. I'm like, really, Gilbert? And I'm like, okay, this guy gonna have me go over there because this would be a typical Gilbert move. Have me go over to the arena and not show up. So I get there, he's there. We load the balls into the shooting gun. The shooting gun is a little machine that kicks out a ball to you and you shoot repetition-wise. We load 5 balls in. Gilbert probably puts the gun on a half a second, and all he's working on is snapping his wrist and a follow-through. And if he doesn't bring his arm back down after he releases and shoots the ball, that next ball is going to tear his chest up, and he's probably 3 feet away from the thing. And he's shooting. He shoots 100 in this spot, 100 in this spot, 100 in this spot. And I'm like, this freaking guy is a machine. He is a machine. And what would have made me tired mentally, I would have been like, I'm tired here. He kept going through it. So we finished that, and he probably, out of the 500 shots, he probably made 440, 450. He didn't miss very many. He was just working on form and technique. And he started taking the ball with one hand, shooting and stepping back. And people know Gilbert. Gilbert was one of the first guys to do that, takes up, and he'd get all the way to half court. So we're playing a game a couple of nights later, and Gilbert comes across half court. One dribble, raises up, and lets it fly. And it goes in and comes out. He backpedals. He does not look at the bench once. Now, most guys look over at the coach like, he backpedals, he goes back down. And I lean over to Wes Unseld Jr., and I was like, I was in the gym last night and this dude was shooting half-court shots, and he was like, I know, man, he's crazy. And I'm like, okay. So then not maybe 3 or 4 more plays later, Gilbert comes down on the other side of the court, one dribble across half court, raises, lets it go, splash. And at that moment, I said, okay, he's wired differently. Yeah. What would have made other guys uncomfortable and afraid, he was comfortable doing.
Well, it's funny you say that. Years ago, it's funny. I used to go out with a friend of mine, go to clubs and stuff. You go out, have a good time. And it was amazing because he'd go up to a table, and if a girl said no to dance, He'd ask another girl. He'd literally 5 girls. And he'd come back and he'd go, look, sooner or later, somebody tonight is going to say, and that's the mentality that you have to have, because so many of us in life, we have fear. I was talking to some about that today. We have fear of being judged. We have fear of failure. And when failure exists, a lot of it has to do on us.